What's this?
Keys.
George,
Go whenever you like. Okay?
I'd ring first if I went. Which I won't.
Don't work too hard.
But for once, I felt like working. I was fired with the piety of being punctual.
Better, Barbara.
Martin hadn't said better, Barbara, since the first time he'd seen Jack's arm round my waist a year ago. My legs are connected directly to my spirit, and today they could fly, hit my ears. It was a pity Jack wasn't there to notice. There was no sign of him. I decided that after class I wouldn't rush off as usual to the canteen. I'd do some practice on my own to keep warm for rehearsal.
Oh, Martin.
Yes.
Any signs of Jack yet?
No.
Barbara? Darling, do you know where Jack is? Well, he's on tonight in Pole. Graham's off with his knee. Where do you think he can be?
I've no idea. Have you rung him?
Yes, of course. There's no answer. Is he all right, dear?
I don't know. I haven't seen him since Saturday.
Well, we thought perhaps you could run home and see if he is all right. For tonight. Get him to ring us straight away.
Yes, but what about rehearsals? I'm needed for Swans.
You're excused from rehearsal this afternoon.
We'll manage without you. Now run along, darling.
Excuse me.
There is a great chocolate recipe.
Just a share of chemistry.
Oh, it's all next subject.
I'll get your cash for you. Okay.
Oh, thanks ever so much. Thank you. Melissa, when you left, was Jack all right? I wasn't there. I was at home. Mummy called me on Sunday night. She's been so sweet.
Yes, but where's Jack? What's the matter? Are you ill? Look, they've sent me home to find out.
Where were you?
I went to the country. Now, please, Jack, come on.
Where were you last night?
I stayed. You haven't even shaved.
Who did you sleep with?
Look, don't you think you'd better ring them? They're waiting. Graham's off and it's Paul tonight.
You did sleep with someone.
Oh, for God's sake, you slept with Melissa?
But you knew we talked about it.
Yes, because you wanted to.
Now I want to listen. Come on and tell me.
A friend of mine took me down to his cottage. I didn't mean to stay the night. It just happened that way.
What friend?
George Stroud, actually.
Who is he?
Oh, you know, the designer. He's doing beauty.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I had a lovely day.
Not today! Him!
Yes.
Come on, go and wash your face. It looks disgusting.
How expertly Jack could turn even jealousy to his own advantage. His sense of injury ennobled him in his own eyes. As for my puny little upset over Melissa, how morally insipid that seemed now. What poor tactics. I could hardly go to the theatre looking the way I did. For the want of somewhere better, I went to George's flat. My manners let me down a bit. I forgot to ring first. But he was as good as his word. He wasn't there. So many years of believing the show must go on, that the sky would fall in if you missed even one performance. Did it really matter if someone else put on my costume and cavorted about in the back row, pretending to be me? Hello. Could I have the company office, please? Hello. Is Martin there, please? Is Barbara Livesey here? I'm afraid I'm going to have to be off tonight. No. It's nothing serious. It's just, Yes, all right. I'll wait. I awoke on the dot of 5 to 7, just as the stage manager was calling half an hour, please. But not for me. While they jostled each other in the hubbub of the dressing room, painting bright red smiles on their little white faces, I found myself in a quieter, gentler place. I hadn't seen so much fresh food in the house since I'd lived at home with my parents. It was almost as though George was expecting a visitor, but I certainly didn't feel like eating anything. I'd never forgotten it before, not even in my most drunken stupor. But last night at the cottage, I'd managed to forget it stone cold sober. I hadn't even taken them with me. At least that proved one thing. I hadn't meant to sleep with George. I swallowed Sundays as well, in retrospect. You can't be too careful. For the first few days, I revelled in my isolation. I drifted round the flat, taking my own tempo, discovering the delights of celibacy. But by the end of the week, I grew restless. Bored with my own company, I became absorbed with George's absence. There was evidence of him everywhere, in everything I touched. I became familiar with the way he lived, the paintings he admired, the brand of butter he preferred. I was on intimate terms with the contents of his wardrobe. Oh, George!
What happened to you? God, I wish I'd known. Listen, I tried ringing the theater several times. They said you weren't there. I thought you were avoiding me.
Avoiding you? I've been living with you.
Don't do any more this morning, Barbara. We don't want you getting tired on your first day back.
Barbara, you sure you're all right now? You know, darling, don't you, if there's anything we can do to help.
With George, it was suddenly so simple. Simple to see that Martin missed performing, that Dolly was a barren woman of 60, lonely for daughters.
Oh, you look whacked.
Oh.
Sit down. I'll fix you a drink.
Thanks.
So what was it tonight?
Swan Lake.
Ah, beautiful.
Not for me, it's not. It's 4 acts of hell. It's all right for her in the middle, mooning and swooning about. The rest of it's just stand there getting cramp. You know, I'm actually afraid that one day I might run amok. The 12th swan from the left suddenly rushes down stage, laughing and shouting, and hurls herself into the orchestra pit.
Here, get that down you.
Thanks. Still, at least with you, it all seems terribly unimportant. George, I've got cramp.
Shut up and keep still.
Oh, God. Oh, this is worse than Swan Lake. Oh. Hi.
Hi. Some coffee?
No, thanks.
Sure.
Quite sure. I'm off coffee.
Are you okay? Hey. You look a bit pale. You're not sick, are you?
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm pregnant. I could have made it all right for him. I could have told him at once what I'd decided to do, clarified the attitude the poor man was expected to take. But I didn't. I was possessed at that moment by a terrible female conceit. I wanted him to want it to be his. Sorry to be a bore.
Well, that's extremely clever of you. Of us. But it is us, isn't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it is.
Well, that's a relief.
Don't have to drop on one knee or reach for your checkbook or anything. I'm the one that forgot to take the pill. It was the first night. I couldn't tell you. You'd have thought I did it on purpose.
You mean we... the first time we did it? Yoo-hoo! Of course, you won't want to have it, will you? I mean, you wouldn't want anything to interrupt your career at this stage.
Career? What career? It's as good a moment as any to retire.
Oh, what do you mean, retire? It only takes 9 months, you know.
I'd be finished. It takes weeks and weeks to get back into practice, even if you miss a few days. And what about afterwards? How could I work?
Lots of women do.
Lots of women have nannies and nurseries and washing machines. I could never afford all that.
Well, I could.
Oh, George. What would you do? It would yell when you're trying to work and pee all over your furniture.
Well, I'll build it a house, soundproof it, and put in some damn course.
Oh, George. You mustn't make it sound too comfortable.
You can't go on tour, humping suitcases on and off trains and living in sleazy digs. Tell them you can't go.
But it's so gutless. One girl went on till she was 6 months.
Oh, she must have looked great in a tutu. Where do they want you to go?
Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Hull. Oh, but it's been arranged for ages. I should have told them before.
But you didn't know before. Tell them today you've got the best excuse a girl ever had.
It's just what it is, an excuse. I should be shackled by this baby, but I don't. It's my excuse, my chance to sit down.
The baby's not the reason I don't want you to go. I just couldn't stand being without you. So tell them, will you, for my sake?
Not for yours. For mine. You're making it easy again.
Well, I just have to think about it. Of course, you may change your mind and not want to come back at all.
Oh, I'll come back. If you still want me.
Will you be getting married?
I expect so. When it gets a little nearer the time, though. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Fine. How's the flat? You going to be letting it for the tour?
Can't be bothering.
Where will you be staying in Manchester?
Why? Afraid we might book into St. Dick's.
Well, I won't be on the tour. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving the company.
It's because of me, is it?
Don't worry, it's nothing to do with you. You don't even come into it. Excuse me. It's going to be a very eerie-looking Sleeping Beauty.
Well, children's fantasies are eerie.
Oh, is this the bluebird?
Yes.
Is Jack going to have to paint his face blue?
Yes.
Well, he's not going to like that very much. Oh, this forest set's amazing. Sorry. Has Dolly seen it?
Not yet.
to shake her a bit. She's used to sub-Fragonard backdrops.
What she can say next week. You can explain it to her.
Me? Oh, George, I don't want to go back to London.
You know, I thought you could come here.
Only here? What am I supposed to do? Eat in the kitchen? I'm only called a ballet, you know.
You're not in any bloody corps now. You're my wife.
George has been so clever. It's very original. Some of it's quite beautiful. Of course, I'm not sure whether that forest idea will be practical.
What, when it grows, you mean?
Yes.
Well, it's quite simple, really. The fluorescent stuff is pumped through the perspex and lit in black light. It'll look as if the trees are growing.
But will it work?
George does it.
How was the tour?
Oh, an immense success.
No casualties, I hope.
You make it sound like a guerrilla raid.
It is into hostile territory. Raked stages and freezing dressing rooms.
Graham Chandler's knee went.
What, again? Oh, poor Graham.
Keeps flaring up. He'll have to stop dancing soon.
What, for good? Well, that's awful.
Well, he's had a good innings. He's nearly 35, you know.
Good Lord, Hugh. Nearly 35.
But what will you do with this poor boy?
They usually teach. Or administration, like I did. Of course, I was still dancing when I was into my 40s.
When I was still at school, I stole 10 shillings from my father's trousers to see you in Sylphied.
What was I dancing?
The prelude.
Ah, yes.
All the girls I grew up with wanted to dance Giselle. They were always doing the mad scene in front of their bathroom mirrors. All I ever wanted to dance was the prelude.
Did you, darling? Yes, it might have suited you. You should have asked.
You should have asked. That's what she said. Asked. Oh, excuse me, mind if I have a bash at the prelude or come to that the Swan Queen? God, is that what you're supposed to do? Ask.
Well, you can't help it, my dear, if you were well brought up.
Oh.
What's wrong?
Feel that? She can keep her precious prelude.
Grace?
Why not? With a name like that, she'd never dare be a dancer.
Yeah, she is rather amazing, you know.
George, I'm a bit worried. You don't think there's something wrong with her, do you? And they haven't told me.
What?
Well, look at her. She just lies there. She never makes a sound.
Well, she's had a hard time of it. She's exhausted, aren't you, darling?
You fathers. So bloody clever. I've never even seen a baby that small, let alone looked after one.
It took an awfully long time, you know.
What, 6 hours? It was a model delivery, they said. I'm a star at last. It's my hips, you know. How's your Sleeping Beauty?
My what?
The production, stupid.
Oh. Well, as Dolly would say, oh, an immense success.
I told her, didn't I?
I can't bear seeing you lying there, not being able to get in with you.
It's just as well you can't. The way I'm feeling at the moment, I could spend the rest of my life as a spinster. Me, of all people.
That'll be the day.
Oh, George. Don't let me spoil it all.